John Kennedy. Senator Kennedy, thanks for joining us. I hope that laid it out. I mean, this is a difficult choice. It is, we need the stuff, we want the stuff, they can make the stuff that we can't make. Oh, but at the same time, we may not only be funding a potential Army or Air Force invasion of Taiwan, but a lot of this stuff might be made in forced labor camps.
Oh, I understand why companies want to do business in China. They have 1.5 billion people. Their GDP per capita is not nearly as great as ours. It's about 13,000. Ours is about 70,000. But they have a lot of purchasing power. But here's the problem. China is wealthy in part, large part, because we helped admit China to the World Trade Organization on December 11th, 2001. China started cheating December 12th. And the Chinese
What do you mean,
Communist
Senator, by
Party
cheating?
Still...
We hear that term a lot, but if you were to define it as the head of the Select Committee on China, explain to our audience, many of whom are not D.C. insiders, what that word means.
Well, when I say that the Communist Party of China will steal the hair off your head, what I mean is the Communist Party of China controls all business in China. The Communist Party of China directs businesses to steal trade secrets, to surveil illegally American businesses, to steal intellectual property. And if Tesla, for example, opens a plant in China, as it has in part, if Tesla's not careful, China will steal all its intellectual property, and you'll start seeing a lot of counterfeit goods, a lot of little Chinese Teslas running around, and they won't need Tesla anymore. And that's the problem, right? I don't want to be in a Cold War with China or a hot war. I just want China to be a stable member of a global world order. But China's not going to do that by us giving them hugs and hot cocoa. They understand strength.
If you go to China, as I have, there's cars that look a lot like Range Rovers. There are jets that look a lot like the Boeing 737, but they are obviously not. There is no Twitter. There really is no Facebook. At one point years ago, I think Bill Gates said that 95% of Windows installs at the time were fraudulent. Why are we so eager? Yes, they have a lot of people, and they're growing in their wealth. And GM would love to sell them a lot of Buicks, which, by the way, is a red-hot brand in China. But is it all worth it, Senator? Those dollars fund the aircraft carriers that we just saw off the Straits of Taiwan.
Well, the better question, it seems to me, is, I'm not saying it's a bad question, but to me the more appropriate question is, what do we do about it? Our economies, U.S. and China, are inextricably linked now. We sell about $180 billion worth of stuff every year to China, but we buy about $580 billion worth of stuff. This potential Cold War with China is not like it was with Russia. Our economies were not linked. Our economy is linked with China.
Will that be enough to keep the peace, Senator? Will that be enough to keep the peace? The fact that there is an economic bond?
Here's what I say would do to keep the peace with China. Number one, we need to talk often. We need to talk often. The silent treatment on either side doesn't work. Number two, President Xi, how can I put this? He is basically a gangster. With him, weakness invites the wolves. If you turn the other cheek on President Xi, all he'll do is stab you in the neck. Now, that doesn't mean we have to have a war, cold or hot, with him, but peace through weakness will not work with China. We have to be very firm, very clear, and have consequences when China doesn't comply.
And let's hope we can. Let's hope we can have some. President Biden's in Ireland right now. Putin just met with President Xi. We'll see what happens. Senator Kennedy, thank you very much for joining us on CNBC. We do appreciate it, sir. Thank you. By the way,